Welcome to the Manufacturing Matrix. This is our Fuuz podcast. My name is Craig Scott, founder and CEO, and I have a couple of guests with me today, a couple of coworkers of mine. So I'll let them introduce themselves. Lance, if you want to start.
Yeah, sure. Hi, I'm Lance Menard. I'm Director of Engineering here at Fuuz. I've been on a couple of these so far. At what point do I get a recurring co-host slot?
Yeah, we'll talk about that off camera.
I'm Ryan Hamilton. I'm a senior software engineer at Fuuz. Been here for quite a while now, over 5 years. This is my first time on the podcast.
Yes. First time.
Welcome.
So anytime coming on a podcast like this is a little bit intimidating
For
at
sure.
first, right?
Yes.
But, it's just a free-flowing conversation. We're going to talk about some really fun and interesting things today. On the agenda here, we are going to be talking about scheduling within the Fuuz industrial platform. So Ryan has been fortunate enough for probably the past year-ish to be working on a new feature that we've recently pushed out to our build environment for our customers and partners to start playing with, which is the new scheduling
Configuration, scheduling system.
Right.
Yes.
There's a lot involved.
A lot of pieces.
So, I think we'll kind of get this kick started here. What a lot of people out there probably don't have a great appreciation for is just how complex setting up a shift in a manufacturing system can really be. It's not just as simple as start and end time Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, apparently.
Yes.
And if it is that simple, we have managed to make it extremely complex. So we are very good at that sometimes, but we have to start somewhere. So we had to build out some framework to support this really extensible scheduling solution. We've approached this from, I think, a very different angle than probably anyone else in the world has approached scheduling when it comes to MES. They're always thinking about it just in terms of work orders and work centers. But you took an interesting stab at this, which I think is going to be really awesome for our customers and partners to be able to leverage a very, it's a complex tool. Scheduling anything is pretty difficult, especially in manufacturing with all the different resources and constraints and dependencies. But they're going to be able to apply this to a lot of different use cases, not just scheduling work orders. So tell us a little bit about what was going through your head when you started this project.
Yeah, so there's quite a few things. So if we start from the schedule groups and the scheduling process, something that a lot of people don't realize is that there are problems like time zones and daylight savings time and any sort of date math really is not straightforward as much as you would hope for it to be.
Truly a curse of software.
Yes. And then the other complexity that comes around with the shift is that it is a recurring event, right? This is not something that you can just say it's on this date from this time to this date on this time. There's not just like a good way to define that it's recurring outside of using some sort of recurrence library. For our choice, we picked Rrule, which is a really awesome recurring library, follows an iCal spec, and you can really make it recur however you want. Do you want it to be yearly, monthly, daily, weekly, on certain days of the week? You can make it end after a certain occurrence. You can make it start after a certain date and time. You can plug it into a specific time zone, whatever you want to do. It's super flexible.
So that's pretty cool because I think one thing that to kind of point out about that is that the way you designed schedule groups and schedules is not just for shifts, right? It's really an agnostic approach on how to create a schedule for pretty much anything in a manufacturing or industrial environment. It could be shipping docks, receiving docks, anything that is date bound. You could define a schedule for, and it can be simple. It can be extremely complex. We handle all use cases. So that's awesome. That's part of the configuration. That's going to customers can do at the tenant level, set up all these different schedule groups, consume those now. Let's talk about that. Like, how does that part of it? How do you get this defined schedule of events connected with the resources that they apply to.
Well, there's one other thing I wanted to cover for the schedule groups and schedules, which is that because they have this ability to say that they are effective on some date time, or they end on some date time, you can actually pre-plan overtime inside of the system as well. So if you need to extend your schedule, or if you need to say that actually we have a holiday going across this, the schedule group, that you can just omit time from that schedule saying that this is not available as well. And all of this will just kind of naturally integrate into a lot of the function bindings we have. So the function bindings we have will basically take in very simple parameters. You're going to take in your start date, your end date, and it's going to basically return to you what availability you have and anywhere that it's blocked, which can be used for, generating your OEE or your, availability to just try to tie we produced this item, potentially what schedule were we on when we produced that item, right? Or whatever it may be, right? You're trying to attribute a specific schedule or some sort of point in time to some record, right? And then from there as well, we get into kind of the more of the actual like scheduling approach for work orders or truly anything. You could be scheduling your shipping docks. You could be scheduling that, I have this availability on this dock and I want to get this order out at this time, and maybe the truck will be here at some certain time. You're trying to meet the time frame to allow that truck to actually acquire the material, right? Yeah. And so with that, you basically will end up linking those schedule groups to resources. So your resources could be a work center, a shipping dock, a person, maybe even a tool.
A tool,
yeah.
An asset,
anything. It doesn't really matter what the thing is. If you want to schedule it, you want to schedule something onto it, make it a resource, right? It doesn't matter what exactly that thing is, potentially what model that comes from in the database. As long as it meets the most minimal criteria to be a resource, it can be a resource, basically.
I'm just thinking of all the different ways that I can use this now. So, I noticed some of the other things in there too that we should talk about is the way in which you've designed the configuration for the actual scheduler. And maybe before that, though, it might be helpful to explain to us the scheduler itself is not just a screen
Yes.
like you would find in most systems where it's a very kind of like it's just this thing, right? In ERP, you go to your MRP screen, like it's just there. The scheduler is actually a component that's part of our screen builder.
Yep.
So what does that allow a customer to do?
Yeah. So setting aside the configuration for right now, the component allows you to basically place it anywhere on a screen and use it kind of however you'd like. Whether you wanted to use maybe like a grid that somehow you click into one of the run records, which is related to basically a draft of a schedule. So allowing you to say, maybe I set up a schedule and I want to send it to Craig to approve it, right? I can set it up how I think I want it to look, or how I think it should look, and then Craig can come in, make some changes to it, save it, and then commit it. And that committing process is basically updating the actual database to replicate anything that was changed in that draft to the database, so that the next time any screen is loaded, that's effectively what the schedule will be. So it allows you to say I send it over and Craig really doesn't like it and he just goes, you know what, I'm going to scrap this. We didn't commit anything, right? So the schedule that was there is still there. We don't have to worry about that. Craig can just start a brand new one.
Yeah. I like that idea because, in some systems, they'll allow you to do different, what they call scenarios right, for the scheduling. Typically, there's a limit to how many scenarios you can have, 3, 5, whatever, and then you have to delete them in order to create more. We kind of have come up with a method, though, where you can iterate essentially as much as you want over your schedule. You can compare different runs together, really get to the most optimized solution for whatever it is that you're scheduling.
Yep.
Maybe you run a barbershop and you want to schedule clients.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess that's like just to throw some fun in here because it really could be used for scheduling a salon.
Yes.
Sure.
you could build this app in Fuuz. So for the people out there that might be listening to this, the partners, the customers, like that's really the power and the beauty of building this as a modular component within the platform rather than a really hardly opinionated way of scheduling work orders, which you'll get from any other MES system.
Yep.
It's a Core 4 feature, but I think that's really, really awesome. So
yeah, there was a lot of discussion about how we wanted to approach that. Did we just want to do it the easy way, build something specific to MES, to work order scheduling? But we decided to do it the hard way and make more work for ourselves and make something reusable, because ultimately, in all of these cases, right, we find ourselves, we don't know what use cases people are going to come up with, right? And we on the platform team in particular hate putting limits on the software like baked into the platform.
Yep.
Just doesn't feel good to us. So sometimes we go out of our way and sometimes make our lives a little bit more miserable.
Yeah.
To make sure that in the long run we have the flexibility to do whatever we want.
Mostly, I think it's just making the sales and marketing people miserable because they want to go and sell these features.
Sorry.
Yeah.
But, I think that's a prime kind of, engineering philosophy is to kind of see where the paths develop, see where people are using things and how they're using things, and then optimize the things rather than coming out of the gate with this very rigid.
Yeah. This is how we think it's going to work, or how we think you're going to want to use it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because, we all know folks in OT don't always know what they need until they get into doing something and then realize that, things change in manufacturing constantly. So I think that's pretty slick. Last but not least is kind of maybe talk to us a little bit about how you can configure this thing.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool too.
Yeah. So ultimately, it's very widely configurable. You can kind of use any data model in Fuuz to make your events, your resources, your dependencies, or your assignments. So your events being, some span of time, basically saying like, ideally it'll start at this time and it will last for 8 hours, right? Maybe a process on your work order.
Yep.
The resource being a work center where you'd work on that. And then the dependency being if you had multiple events like process 1, 2, and 3, you could link those together. With the assignments being that basically this event is assigned to this resource. So all of that is mappable. You do have to meet the minimum criteria, required for those things. But outside of that, you can basically plug any data model, again, that meets the criteria into those configurations and start scheduling. So this is also kind of cool because you could adopt an older schema that was not designed for it into it. And the really great part about this too is it's a very low code approach in the way that in most ways we've previously done things, you would have to write transforms to transform your data to fit into the given schema, whatever it is. This just does it for you. So basically you're just typing in the field names. It will automatically query it. It'll automatically map it and put it right into the scheduler for you. And then when you're done making changes, it'll also write all that data back for you.
Yeah, that I think is the real magic.
Yes.
That's the really fantastic part.
Yep. And so that draft, that schedule configuration run, we call it, could be persisted directly to the database without you having to write any code in between. Basically just the field mapping, you can save it to retain that draft, or you can commit it to actually apply it. So.
Yeah, that's cool. I actually went through this morning, with another team member, and we were retrofitting this into an existing customer's environment. They were, already had MES, but this wasn't in a place where we could implement it before. It took us a couple of steps. We had to add a new duration field to the distribution record for the work order. Not a big deal. We had to do a little mutation, get that data updated. We had a scheduled start at, scheduled finish at on there. Already had a work center ID, so that's our resource. We set up the schedule group using the new data, slapped a screen together, plopped the component in there, saved it, hour later, we had advanced production scheduling.
Yep.
So pretty cool. And we fumbled our way through it, honestly, because it's new, and so I think it probably took us a little bit longer this time than it will in the future, because we're learning as we go on how to use it. But yeah, it was pretty cool. So pretty good for customers that are out there already, maybe using the software, that want or need this. And I think a lot of the magic kind of lives in the actual scheduler itself, right? The component. So when they go to this now, they'll get a list of all of the unscheduled events to stay generic, but work orders.
Work orders, sure.
Right? So you get all your unscheduled work orders. You're going to drag those out into the it's almost like a Gantt chart
Timeline.
very Gantt.
timeline looking interface. Really nice, modern, with calendar. Anyway, you'll have to see it. Maybe we'll do a demo of it soon too. But so you drag it out there. It knows which resources it can be scheduled to. So it kind of blocks out all the ones that you can't. It takes a lot of the guesswork out, I think, for a scheduler. And then, like to Lance's point, writes it all back.
Yeah.
Once you're ready.
Yeah, there are a couple other things that component does that I think are really cool. One is, we talked about the schedule groups and that sort of maybe shift schedule or any other schedule. Like it'll overlay that schedule information on the calendar. So basically what that means is it'll block out time that you're not running, right? Weekends, nights, holidays.
Yeah.
You won't be able to schedule things on there, which is really nice.
Like graze it out for
Yep.
you.
Yeah, it's very visually clear that it's not schedulable time. The other thing that it does, or another thing that it does that's really cool is, Ryan mentioned those dependencies. So you got, opt 10, 20, 30, 40. That UI component makes sure that you can't mix those things up. And it even kind of does some really nice streamlining. So if you move the first step in an operation, it'll kind of push everything else out after it to make sure that it'll stay stacked in the right order. Even if those things are across different work orders, different work centers, different operators, kind of pushes everything out, keeps that schedule valid, right?
Yeah.
So that's really cool.
There's so many other things that it does too that, like, as we're talking about it, I'm like, oh, we didn't even talk about like the constraints. And finish to start to finish. Like there's a lot of things that once you get into the tool and you kind of understand how it's working, take that back to your application and make those things configurable, right, for the end user, that it's just going to pipe right into this thing. So then you can get into some really advanced kind of stuff from that standpoint. And I think the one thing that a lot of manufacturers are interested is, so scheduling to work centers is great, right? But scheduling to an asset is also great. But what about when you've got like multiple resources that you need all at the same time? We probably didn't account for that, did we?
Oh, we did.
Oh,
whoa.
spoiler.
Yeah. No, yeah. You want to talk a little about multi-resources?
How that works.
Yeah, you can have as many resources as you want of different types. So you can have your work center, your employees, your tooling, your whatever it may be. You plot them all on this exact same timeline, and they just coexist. You just assign across multiple different resources. So that same event across different assignment models will effectively track that event is assigned to those different resources. So you don't even have to worry about it. You can plot it all in one place. If you want to plot your maintenance work orders with your work orders, and potentially even draw dependencies between maintenance and existing work orders to make sure that work center is actually clear of work while you're trying to, fix it, you can, which is fantastic.
Mind is blown.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah, because no MES does any of these things, right? So, scheduling, and especially in typical APS, advanced production scheduling systems, they're always like very custom tailor built to the specific company that's going to use them. Because if they're doing color progression or some type of material type like there's always some kind of progression involved, right? Or different optimization combination of, I need these assets at this particular time. But all of that in every other tool I've seen requires a tremendous amount of custom coding and development, and usually 6 months to a year of implementation. So we've built a tool that's flexible enough that basically our customer partners, whoever, can just kind of implement this thing, fit their needs in way less time. And so all they need is a subscription to Fuuz.
Yep.
Easy peasy.
Yeah.
Yep.
Call us up. Yeah. 1-800-GET-FUZE. That's not the actual number.
You got to look into that though.
Yeah. So go to Fuuz.com, learn more about Fuuz.
Yep.
What else? Are you excited to be on more podcasts in the future?
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we're doing pretty good. We're, almost half hour into this one. You're still alive.
Yep.
So
And you survived so far.
Yeah.
Yeah. No panic attacks yet.
yeah,
Yep.
it's not so bad.
No.
No?
No.
All right. Well, maybe we'll invite you back.
All right.
Yeah.
This was actually a trial, turns out. This was a
Yep,
this was
you
a
passed.
injury.
As long
Good
as I don't
job,
go to
Ryan.
jail after the trial, I think
Yeah.
we're good.
Yeah.
Guilty
Yeah.
of being too charismatic.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, yeah, hopefully this was enough to at least get people thinking about the possibilities, what they could use the tool for. And yeah, awesome. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.